Yeah, we have 6 and you're down 2 members because Jerome and Alicia are no longer on the pack.
So we have a quorum.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So, good evening all. Welcome to the Policing Advisory Commission meeting for July. I would like to remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded and let everyone know, if you are attending, to please let us, if you are not a member of the commission, to please let us know by placing your name and your affiliation in the comment, in the chat section. Guests are asked not to verbally intervene during the meeting, but feel free to put any questions you may have in the chat, or let's see. So I think that's about all the necessary preamble. We, as Susan noted, we're down 2 members. So Susan, if you can let people know what the process is?
Sure. I just reached out again to our clerk, who will develop the process to advertise. We need to see whether or not we can use the same list of applicants that just applied earlier when Ty and Lori were chosen in Rahama. Oh no, I'm sorry, she's a county executive one. For Jerome's position, and then for Alicia, the county executive needs to appoint somebody. So we're working on those processes right now.
Okay, so I think before it took about a month or so?
Probably, yeah, about 6 weeks, probably.
Okay. So yeah, probably in the summers, it's probably going to be a little slower because, just because people are on taking vacation and all that kind of thing. So, so just letting everyone know that, that's the process. And so we should hopefully be fully staffed, if you will, by September, or, somewhere in September. So just want everybody to know that housekeeping detail. The other housekeeping detail I wanted to mention was that I went on the site today, our Policing Advisory Commission site, just to look around. And it does need to be updated, because I think it still has the old committee listings, and we revamped the committees. So that will be helpful. There's also a couple of typos, but if you revamp the site, then I'm sure you can take care of the typos. So yeah, if we can have some understanding of how long that will take, because I know dealing with this with the county is not always an easy thing.
Well, we run the website, and our person can update it almost immediately, but it would be very helpful to have a very specific list of what you want updated. I can remove the current committees or somehow archive their documents and put up links to the new committees, subcommittees.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful to update at least the names and the membership of the current committees or subcommittees, whatever we're calling them, and to archive the documents from the previous committees. It'd also be good to have a list of current as well as former commissioners, so that people know, so it becomes more historical in that regard. And if anyone else, I invite everyone to please take a look at the site, so that you can, have an idea of whether you believe anything else should be done. My ideas are not the be all end all. So please, please take a look and let us know, let Susan and Carolyn know any suggestions you have, as well as Dobbin and I, because it, you know, it would be helpful. So I think that's the only housekeeping thing I wanted to bring up, because you all know I kind of have some issues about the administrative stuff. Let's see, the thing we really should discuss tonight is the second annual report. If you take a look at the site, if you don't already have the first annual report, you'll see the second annual report. Our requirement under our charter, if you will, is to do annual reports. The first annual report was a very good synopsis of our activities for the year. Again, I invite you to take a look at it. Because it really was a good layout, it was a good format. And I personally think we should stick with the same format. But you all may have different ideas about what the format should be. Basically, what it has as a format in the first annual report was a listing of the committees and basically reports from the committees as to what they had done over the year-long period. It had a synopsis and inclusion of all of the legislation that the commission weighed in on. And then I think it had some recommendations. And under the committee report section, it also had not only what the committees had done, but what they were looking to do in the future. So that was, I think that report gave people an idea of what exactly we had been up to. I guess the first thing I would suggest is that we agree to essentially use that same format. Is there any discussion on that?
I would just have one quick comment, because I kind of morphed into a couple different committees and then became not a committee. So I'm not quite sure how my report would look, but I can definitely provide some type of an update on progress in the area that I cover. I just, I'm kind of a weird piece of this.
Well, I wouldn't call you weird.
Thank you. Let the record reflect. Please let the record reflect. Capital letters.
Okay. Madam Chair, who are can they do a roll call on who's on the committee? And I see a lot of names, but I don't.
Okay, Ms. Ekstrom, you want to start, since you have your hand up? You can.
I guess I'm on the enforcement committee, and Robin Gaster is leading that committee. I don't know if he's on this Zoom call, and there's one other member, and forgive me for not remembering who it is. We've only had one Zoom meeting, so maybe I can be forgiven for forgetting her name. But my one question about the report is, did the prior report do any have any discussion of what kinds of things might have changed or been done because of what the PAC has been doing and saying and commenting on? Were there outcomes to report? I should have read the report, but I haven't.
No, I think that's a very fair question. I mean, I don't think, I think because it was the first annual report, we really couldn't, you know, we couldn't take credit for, but, you know, for so much. I mean, you know, but maybe we can take credit for a few things now, you know, at least we can provide, especially on the legislation we commented on. I think it would be, you know, more than appropriate to say, you know, we commented on this bill last year and, you know, it was signed into law. It was not signed into law. You know, we took the following, we suggested the following amendments and they were or were not made. I mean, I think that's, I think that would be very helpful. Yes. Yeah. Sort of a legislative update also. Yeah, I think that would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Anybody else's hand is up? Do we still have a quorum? 3, 4, 5. Eric, do you have anything?
That's what I was trying to determine who all is on the committee. I'm counting 6.
I think that's right. Okay, so if there are no other concerns about the coverage, at least not at this point, I would suggest, you know, that people take a look at last year's report and figure out whether there are any additional things we should have or any things maybe we shouldn't have. Because like I said, I think it was a good report, but I don't, you know, nothing's perfect. Everything can be improved a bit. For you, Jen, I don't think it's difficult because you do weigh in, you know, in a different manner. It would probably really be helpful for you to take a look at the last report and figure out, you know, where your efforts impacted, because we had 4 committees at that time.
Yeah, I was right. I wrote a report for last time. I wrote an update, but I just don't want to be, I don't want to be like taking credit for things that all these other, that, you know, that the work groups and stuff are doing. You know, I'm a part of these work groups because of this commission, but I don't want to be like saying that that the PAC did, you know, got this grant or is building this place or has created this program, because I'm just providing knowledge and whatever you know, experience that I have to all these groups. So I just, it's kind of weird. I'm not quite sure how to write it. Like, I'm not taking credit for what DHHS is doing, and I'm not taking credit for, you know, I'm just kind of the glue between all of these groups. So that's why I'm kind of not quite sure. I'm a writer. I'll have to make it pretty, but yeah, I'm not quite sure how to exactly do that yet.
Well, I consider myself a part of Jen's group, and so she's my leader.
Oh boy,
and,
run for the hills, Vernon.
You know, so I think what she did and what she's done was a suffice.
No, I mean, I think that because there are so many concerns about how mental health issues and disability issues are addressed by the police, I think it's more than fair for you to have, you know, a special section, if you will. Because there are probably folks who, you know, would be particularly focused on that. And I don't think you'd have to take credit for it as the PAC did X. But
Right.
just, you know, this is the update in the county. I mean, just to show, you know, where the environment has changed and maybe what needs to be done. I mean, we can't take credit for, you know, the fact that there are more social work type folks who go out with the police, you know, but we can definitely note that in the last 2 years, that number has gone from, you know, X to 3X or something. You know,
Okay.
I think that's very fair, you know.
Okay.
I also think a kind of evaluation as to whether it's working. You know, we just saw a news article just this weekend where over in Virginia, where an individual, they had that person out with the cop and couldn't find the individual. Next thing, they got another call and the individual was shot by the cop. So, you know, how is it working in Montgomery County?
Yeah, that might be a little harder. You might
Yeah,
be
that's gonna
asking
be
Jen
tough.
a
I'm
whole
tough.
lot,
Yeah.
yeah.
Vernon, you
but
check on that, okay? I'll do all the rest. You check on that part.
I mean, I think that would be helpful information, but you know, we you know, we don't want Jen to be, you know, writing the thesis, you know. But
I can get statistics, I guess, on the number of calls, or you know, or how many that the crisis center is going to, you know, I can get that kind of statistic, I think.
yeah, that
Okay.
would be helpful, definitely.
Okay.
And we
You know,
got
the changes that we have seen, you know, in the
Yeah.
last, you know, any sort of data points, I think would be very helpful.
Okay, I can do that.
And we got Captain Flynn on. She can probably provide us some information.
She could write it for us and I could sign it. No, that's illegal. This is being recorded.
It's not illegal. This is how you use your best resources.
Hi, Stacy. Yeah.
Collaborative efforts. You know, as long as you reviewed it, then it will be fine. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda. Okay, so we've covered topics. Okay, so and the next thing is to assign writers. And you know, that's probably why Dalvin's not here tonight. He probably know what to. So so I would suggest that the writers are in fact the committee chairs. I mean, you know, they are the people who are best able to provide a summary of what their committees have done. It's going to be difficult because now, you know, we've made these changes to the committee structure. So so yeah, that might require a bit more thought. So so what I would suggest is that that we take a look at the prior committees and the folks who were the prior committee chairs write something, an update of their activities, and then the new committee chairs, to the extent that that those topics are easily morphed, that the new committee chairs then take a look at what has been written by the previous committee chairs and figure out, you know, what their next steps will be. That's probably something Dalvin and I are going to have to actually look at in far more detail than, you know, than can be dealt with tonight. Eric, you have something?
Actually, Lori's hand is up ahead of mine.
Sorry, I've already had my question answered, so please ignore my hand.
Okay, there's a lower hand thing that you can trigger. So I raised my hand, Sherry, to say that I'm willing to sort of write the piece from the former hiring and discipline subcommittee, since Alicia played a key role in a lot of that. Nadia was involved in a lot of that and may not be able to sort of, given her responsibilities, take that on. So I'm willing to take on the writing of the hiring and discipline subcommittee up until it then became, up until the transition.
Thank you. I think that would be great. And Robin is not here tonight, right? So in his absence, we'll assign him that work, and we'll get back to him. And who am I missing? Who else is a subcommittee? Who else is a committee chair? There's one more, right?
It was schools, wasn't it? School resources, school resource
But
officer.
we got rid of that committee. We got rid of that committee. I thought we went from 4 to 3.
Right.
Is
but
that
one-
accurate, Susan?
But that had been a committee up until the reorganization of committees. That's the point I was just making.
No, I get it. And Dobbin was on that committee, and I think he's the only person who was on that committee who is still around. Because Jerome and the student whose name totally escapes me, I'm very sorry. But anyway, Jerome and another person were also on that committee. So Dobbin is the only one still around. So that is, so he'll have to do that. I'm looking at the list of subcommittees that Susan just placed. Susan, is that new or old? That's old, right?
No, that's the new one.
That's new? Okay. So does this mean that we do not have a chair for recruitment and retention?
Recruitment and retention was the subject matter of the hiring subcommittee, and we don't have,
Oh, okay.
we don't
I
have.
got it. Okay. I got it. Okay. And our current number is 3.
Correct.
Okay. So, so as I said, the writers will have to be the committee chairs of the current committee, along with the folks who served, who are still around on the previous committees. And I think we're gonna have to actually look at who.
So what I'm saying, Sherry, is that for the hiring subcommittee, since it was hiring and discipline prior to our reorganization, I'm willing to take that on since I was on that subcommittee with Alicia.
Oh, no, I get your point. I'm just saying that it's not just you. I mean, we have several different, it also applies to schools. And it, I think, applies to the technology. I mean, it might apply to other subcommittees. But I think that is something we're gonna have to sit down and look at and figure out, you know, who's up next, so to speak. As far as the editing is concerned, I think it's only fair that, you know, that Dobbin and I do that. And we're welcome to have any help from anyone else who would like to help. Is there anyone who'd like to volunteer with the editing?
I often have done a lot of editing. I'm willing to sort of participate in, along with the two of you on that.
That would be great. I don't want to ask you to take on too much because you've already got to do, you know, you've still got a lot to do otherwise. But we will definitely accept your offer. And hope that other folks will volunteer when they feel, will volunteer. I think the editing is really not going to be a heavy lift, quite frankly, if there's anybody who's a little leery about it, because I've read most of the writing from most of the people here, and generally speaking, people are pretty strong writers. So the editing is really more stylistic than anything else. And the last thing is publication date. When was our last report published? I have that right in front of me.
I believe it was like July 28th.
And is there a, we're just required to do it annually, right? We're not required to do it by a certain time in the year, or are
It was
we?
technically due July 1st.
Oh, okay. We're right on top of things, aren't we? All right, so, well, I guess that's the next order of business is we should probably write the council a little letter telling them that that we realize the report is late, and to give them a date. I think that's only the polite thing to do, since we're already late. So it is now mid-July. People have to have a summer. So I'm suggesting that the date we give the council is like September 30th. Does anybody have any concerns about that? So I guess in all fairness, we should
Again,
probably take a
what was the
vote.
date? I beg your pardon, I missed it. What date?
September 30th.
September?
30th. September 30th. You have a problem with that?
It just seems awfully late.
Yeah, well, it was due July 1st. And since we are really just starting this, I don't think it makes sense to ask people to
I understand,
you know, to give up their summer.
but let's not argue about that. Sure, September 30 is okay with me.
Okay, so we will, we should probably vote on that. So I'm moving to send the council a letter indicating that the annual report will be sent to them on or before September 30th.
Second, I second.
Okay. All those in favor, please indicate in the, please vote in the chat. All those in favor, please vote yes in the chat. So is anyone, all opposed? Please vote no in the chat. I think that's everyone except Janice. She's probably walking to her car right now. Okay. So, we will indicate to the council that we send them something by September 30th, and I think that becomes our publication date at that point. Do they have to review it? They don't have to review it, right? All we do is send it to them. We don't have any further obligation once we transmit it.
No.
Okay, so then that will be the new publication date. The next thing on the agenda is any feedback on the council bill for private security camera incentive program? Is
Yes,
it
generally
one?
that gets sent to a subcommittee, but I don't know if Dalvin had done that. So I don't know what the status of that is, whether they want to assign it, whether you want to assign it to a subcommittee and report out. I believe there's a public hearing tomorrow on it, and I'm not quite sure about the Public Safety Committee work session date, but I can check on that.
Is it the public hearing tomorrow? Or is it just the introduction tomorrow?
Public hearing.
Okay. Laura, you have a question?
Yes, I think I got a message from Robin asking for questions or comments from us. So I thought it was his committee that was supposed to put together comments. I had sent one question but he hadn't followed up. So maybe it just got lost in all the other things he's got going on.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
there
think
it is.
I don't think Dalvin formally assigned it to us. I think we
Oh,
were
I'm
just sort
sorry.
of- yeah. But it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know.
So-
I had that impression, but I could be wrong. Mhm.
So, Robin, just to be clear for everybody, anybody who may be listening and may not understand, your subcommittee deals with technology issues. Is that right?
We deal with enforcement, which is enormous. So one of the issues for us is we cannot go chasing after every issue, and we can't go, we can't necessarily take on commenting on every piece of council legislation either. So, if we do, I mean, we are probably, given that we have such an enormous range of issues, we would be the people to take it up. I'm not tremendously focused on it.
Okay, well, in case you haven't been able to take a look at the bill, let me just tell you what this bill does. This is a bill that's modeled on a similar bill in DC, as well as in other places. And basically what it says is the police will establish a program that is essentially a voucher program. It will provide vouchers of a certain amount. I'm not sure of the amount. I think it's probably about $200, but I could be wrong on the exact amount. And those vouchers can be used by private individuals as well as businesses to establish, to purchase, and I guess install, that part's not clear, but to definitely purchase security cameras for use on the respective premises. This is the police present this as a crime, as a method to combat crime by providing additional surveillance cameras that the footage can be reviewed by the police. That is essentially my understanding of the bill. Susan, is there anything you want to add to that?
No. No, I think you covered everything.
I think the bill was introduced by Mr. Katz and Mr. Rice. And at this point, I can't remember the council has signed on. Is that accurate?
As far as I know, Council President Albernos is on there as well.
Okay. Is it possible to link the bill in the chat so that everybody
Yes.
can have it, please?
Just a second.
And can I ask a question? I probably should know the answer to this already. Where in the process of approving a bill does the public hearing come? After the
Well,
public,
this one's gonna be tomorrow.
right? I understand I understand it's going to be tomorrow, but what happens after the public hearing? How much time do we have before they take a vote?
Oh, well,
it's
after
gonna
the
be a
public
while.
hearing, there has to be a work session.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So,
And so
so,
there's time to weigh in.
okay, got it.
Eric, did you have your hand up?
Yes. I've looked at the bill, and the bill is profoundly vague. You said, for example, Sherry, that the bill provided that the digital recording would be capable of being reviewed by the police. That's not explicitly in the bill. It just says recording. The bill says nothing about the standards of these cameras, nothing about the way in which the data might be shared or collected or used. It's all that it says is it appears to say is if you buy some kind of private security camera undefined, you may be eligible, and it's all subject to the regulations that the chief issues. It's certainly the chief may come up with excellent regulations, but there's nothing in here that talks about how these cameras could be installed on private property or where. I could install a camera on the back of my house that could conduct surveillance of my neighbor's backyard. Should that be permissible? I mean, what
And that is, let me just, I agree that the bill as introduced is far less than, well, it's vague. You're right. I agree with that. And here's the thing. Here's the other part that you should know, that the bill indicates that regulations will be published under method 2. Method 2 in the county is that the agency drafts regulations, and those regulations are then sent to the council. The council has, I believe, 60 days to review those regulations and to comment upon them. If the council does not act within 60 days, the regulations automatically go into effect. That's method 2. There's also method 3. And method 3 says the executive branch does issues the regulations and writes the regulations, and that's it, done deal. So under method 2, it would seem to me that it's highly possible that the very questions you've raised can and should be addressed. And I guess what that means is that that may be the topic of whatever communication the PAC sends to the council members. Like, we'll have a problem with this in substance, but here's some things the regulations really ought to take care of. But that is so my point is that because it is a method 2 thing, we don't necessarily have to worry about amendments or the potential vagueness. I mean, that can all be taken care of in the regulatory process. Or it can be taken care of in amendments in a work session. Yeah, I mean, but the bottom line is that if we're not gonna weigh in on the bill, it won't be taken care of at all. Eric?
Thank you, Sherry. So as I understood what you said, that the council has 60 days to review and comment. Does the council's action in issuing a comment then create an automatic stop in the implementation of the regulation until, and if so, is that time limited? does the council's issuance of some comment sort of freeze the regulatory process until the council acts, or does Med 2 then mean that the agency that issues the regulation has some time period to respond, and then having sort of responded, then the regulation automatically goes into effect, having simply addressed the comment? I'm not sure.
Comment
Since I'm
sounds-
unfamiliar with the process. I'm simply trying to understand what this really means. Thank you, Susan. Maybe Susan.
Susan's hand is up. You want to answer that, Susan?
Sure. If the regulations come over as a method 2, then the council has 60 days to either approve or reject them. So, and they'll hold at least one, maybe more public safety work sessions on those to draft the final regulations, then approve them. So if they don't act on them, they get approved as submitted.
So in the end, the council
They have to approve
approves the regulations and can
Mhm.
amend them during the
Yes.
work process.
Yep.
Okay,
Can amend them, can rewrite them.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And that is why, that's why it's not a done deal. But anyway,
Eric,
so the regulatory process in this instance is potentially very important. Robin?
Eric, how would you feel about working on a response with our committee to simply raise the issues that we think need to be raised, not answering them, but just raising them, so we can send them a letter? It doesn't have to be by tomorrow. Just send a letter saying we have these concerns and hope that you will take care of them later.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that before the end of the week.
That sounds great.
Okay. Susan, is your hand up? Another comment, or is just not down yet?
Nope, I forgot to take it down.
Okay, because I don't want you to be excluded. So I would also like to be involved in that process.
Sure.
I have a couple things going on the next days, but yeah, because I do have I did jot down a few notes about what the regulatory framework should look like.
So Sherry, why don't you join our subcommittee just for this issue, and we'll circulate the draft amongst the subcommittee as it now exists, plus Eric, plus Sherry.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, I can. I think as the vice chair, I can weigh in on everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, but I want you to do some of the work.
Oh, okay, thanks. Thanks. I will send you what I have already jotted down,
Okay.
actually.
That's good.
Probably tomorrow, because I got another meeting tonight.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on this particular topic? Okay, well, that seems to be our game plan, that Eric, Robin, and I and the respective subcommittee members will take a further look at this legislation, and will come up with some written document to indicate where we believe this regulatory framework should be. I think, in all fairness, that document should then be distributed to the members of the PAC. And we can all do this, and this can be done by email through Susan. And people can vote yay or nay on, whether, and make whatever, tweaks they may be interested in, but it is probably best to do yay or nay, because we could go back and forth for a while. And the work session is scheduled for the 28th. And so while we have some time, we don't have an inordinate amount of time to go back and forth. So that is my suggestion. I don't know if I have to make a motion on that. I don't think it's formal enough to make a motion. It's just really pretty administrative. So that is how we will move forward. If anyone else would like to be involved in this process who may not be on these subcommittees, please email me and Dalvin, let us know so that we'll know to distribute this to you all. But we do have to be very careful about how many people we're inviting in the process, because then we become subject to the open meetings rule, which is another reason to keep it small, unfortunately, in the working part of it. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is to develop community education approach regarding police complaint process. I have no idea what that's supposed to mean. Susan, do you know what that's supposed to mean?
Sure. So one of the things that Dalvin and I had discussed, and I thought that we had discussed it at a prior PAC meeting, but I'm not sure, is that this would be a great opportunity for the PAC to engage in community education to help people understand how to file complaints against police, where to do that, what the process is, where they can access the PAB website, that type of thing. So, and I had been in some very preliminary discussions with Drew at this is the East County Regional Services Center, because they've got established networks of community residents and stuff. And so if the PAC wanted to partner with the regional services centers, you might be able to reach a broader audience. Because I know there was some concern about a couple of the forums, last year, not necessarily accessing everybody that you really had wanted to access.
No, I think the mailing list for the regional services centers, because they're like, what, 3, 4 of them? I forget. But yeah, they probably have a much broader reach than we've had before. And so yeah, I think asking them to distribute things would be great. So I guess what has to be determined is what should be in this community education approach.
Right. If you wanted to have a forum again on Zoom or in person even, or distribute material or press releases, that type of thing.
If we're going to have a forum, quite frankly, I think it would be good to have one after we issue the annual report, because at least it would then give people something. We could tell people, hey, look, we've done 2 reports now, and we really like your input as we walk into our 3rd year or something. And that could be the sort of basis, the top line topic, where does the community see this entity being involved? And yeah, distributing the report via those networks would probably be excellent. Do we have, I think I may have asked this question before, but do we have formal partners? Is there any prohibition in the county law that would keep this entity from having formal partners?
No. How are you defining formal partners?
I'm saying, entities that we know are nonpartisan, like the League of Women Voters. If we sent them if they were on our regular mailing list. I guess maybe that's the place to start. Do we have a regular mailing list?
I don't think
Like
so.
a regular email list?
No,
We don't?
not that I know of. If Carlos had something, he didn't transfer it to me.
Well, Carolyn, I know that you know every nonprofit in the county.
I do. The last is this for the, is this to push out the information about when your report is published and a possible forum? Or your question is about partners?
My question is about the best way to push out the information.
Oh,
And
okay.
whether or not the partnership approach will be best. It may not be, but our previous efforts have, I think, been limited because we really didn't have a wide mailing list.
Mhm.
And so, you know, I'm wondering how we can get a better mailing list. I think Susan has brought up the regional centers, and yes, definitely have, you know, a good mailing list. But I'm wondering beyond that, like, you know, the nonprofit community.
Yeah, since we're since you guys are a council commission, actually with executive and council appointees, so we have access to all the email distribution lists through the big ones, right? So we could, and that was what we talked about, I think 2 meetings ago, about press releases. So we have access to press releases that go out to everybody, as well as like the next level of like departments, like Office of Community Partnerships, Office of Public Information. So we can push that out to everyone, including all the regional service directors. But that's super easy in terms of reach. I think the question is, the action, right? And I think your action is like linking it to the publication of the report and then scheduling either one or multiple forums through the regional services centers. We could do that, but yeah, not a problem.
Okay, no, I think that's helpful. And so I'd suggest that's what we do. Robin?
Just a more general point. You know, I do think we need to provide information. So to give you an example, I'm not forming my ideas very clearly, but we had what I think of as a useful exchange with MCPD recently about body cams. We got a series of formal responses from them. I thought they were basically pretty good. I still have some questions. I always have more questions, but I thought they were good. And I thought we should post that exchange and let people know that this is work we've done and here's what MCPD says. And if you have more questions, get in touch with us. And so I'm interested in thoughts about how we should go about doing that.
So that exchange would be in the annual report, right?
Well, we would talk about it, but the actual details of the exchange, no, it wouldn't. I don't think. We would say we had an exchange about body cams, but we wouldn't have, I mean, it's like we're going to have in the annual report that we did a lot of work on traffic, but we're not going to put the traffic report that we did into the annual report, I don't think.
Why wouldn't we?
Well, maybe as an appendix, I guess. But I guess what I'm saying is this shouldn't just be part of the annual report. This should be something that we send out, possibly even as a press release, and say, look, we've done some work on body cams. And those of you in the community who are interested, here's what we discovered from MCPD. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be, but you know, body cams are an important technology, and we learned some interesting things that I didn't know. I'm sure other people did, but I didn't know them. And I think we should be finding ways to connect to the community around each of these pieces of work that we do, rather than waiting for the annual report to come out.
I agree. So why don't we do a test run? How
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah.
So we do have the traffic enforcement report, which I think was good, very good, in fact. So it is now mid-July, or almost mid-July. Can we, Carolyn, do a test run of this broad distribution network with a copy of the traffic report? And maybe we could do like a
press release.
like a one-page press release.
Yeah.
Right. That says, hey, here's our traffic report. And here's our next meeting date. And here's when we're gonna do the annual report. Just thought you residents of the county should know about this. And then, you know, we can do that once a month. We probably have enough documents to do that once a month. So if we did one, you know, toward the end of July, because this is already done, really, right? I mean, that report is already done. It's signed, sealed, delivered. And then we could maybe, yeah, we could do another one in August, and then people would be ready in September for the annual report. We would sort of be, you know, building our we would be building our audience, hopefully, by the time the annual report came out.
Right.
Is that idea that's workable?
I like that. And you know, in the July, you know, or the August one or whatever, we could put a very short summary of what the traffic cam thing did. I'm using it as an example. So just a one paragraph thing that said we discussed traffic cams with not traffic cams, I mean body cams with MCPD. We had a useful exchange, and here's where you can find it. And then it would point, the press release would point to the actual document, which we would post on our website.
I
Make
think that's
sense?
great. Anybody have any concerns about that? Carolyn?
Not, sorry, apologies, not a concern. I'll just throw out there that I've done this with grants. So the way that when you send out something that we can at least count the hits, like the opens, you know, and then also on linking back to the website, and then we can create, you know, like a heat map, like where people link to. So I think that would be like a really good test, you know, pilot of interest, and then kind of build from there. I assume you guys didn't have that before, I would have seen it, but that's easy to do. So no worries, you worry on content.
Good.
Well,
That's
then
great.
we're going to do that, Carolyn. That's excellent. Thank you so much. So yeah, so we'll be ready to go with that, because that work is already done in the can. On a related note, is there, I may have missed, what is the what are the plans regarding the civilian police officer who's doing the community outreach? I don't mean Carmen. I mean, are there plan, who steps in? Is that Captain Flynn?
So right now, everyone that was under Chief Fasciolo is temporarily working under Chief Yamada. And so I am here tonight on behalf of Chief Yamada. I'm representing him.
Okay, so what can you tell us about where the department is going at this juncture on community policing, outreach, that kind of thing, engagement?
Sure, absolutely. So we're still very committed to reaching out to the community. We have, I'm not sure how much your committee is aware, but over the last couple of months, we actually met with several high schools and we connected with several different groups of students to get input and feedback on how we're doing across the county to police with youth. And then we are also putting together several roundtable discussions that we want to hold this fall to reach out to the rest of the community. So our goal is basically to hold a couple of roundtable conversations to be able to listen and get feedback from the different county residents. And then many of the divisions within the police department have actually embedded customer satisfaction surveys into some of our email exchanges. So we're also trying to seek feedback on a regular basis from the community. So that's just some of the ideas that are some of the things that we are doing currently.
So on the roundtables, how is that audience being gathered?
So that's going to be a public forum. There's going to be a couple ways that we do it. One of them is that we're going to be them, and they have those, usually it's at a high school and the public is invited in to come and speak. And then we're also planning to do a few more focused groups, a little bit smaller, and those are going to be the people from those groups are going to be pulled from community members with which we're familiar. So we're going to be reaching out and sort of collecting a few people that we know of and then asking them to bring a few more people, just again to get different perspectives and to have a different, a widespread audience of people that we're connecting with.
So can you send the pack a schedule of when those events may occur?
Yes, there's nothing currently on the calendar, but we are in the works of developing them, and I will absolutely include you guys in the process.
All right, that would be great. Anybody else have any questions on that topic or any other community outreach engagement topics? So will you be joining us, Captain Flynn, for all of our meetings?
Yes, ma'am. For the foreseeable future, you're stuck with me.
Well, I'm okay with that. Is you're trying to keep a low profile, but I'm gonna ask you questions.
Not a problem at all, ma'am. I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is new business. Does anybody have any new business that we need to discuss? When is our next meeting? Oh, I'm sorry, Eric.
Thank you, Sherry. This is sort of a matter of old business. And it goes back to the questions we raised a year ago or more about marijuana arrests. We had raised the question with the police about the number of marijuana arrests, and Assistant Chief Patil came back with a 4-page memo with some information that essentially did not answer the question. Essentially, he said, we don't know how many marijuana arrests the county police do. What we were able to do was to, over a 2-year period, pick 1 case per month. And of those 24 cases, 2 of them seemed to be actual arrests, and the other 22 were the issuance of citations under the decriminalization law. Now, the data that the police are reporting to the state police still are on the order of, I think the last number was something like 1,200 marijuana arrests in the county at a time when the city of Baltimore, I think, reported 10 such arrests. the county really should after a year ought to be able to tell us how many arrests for marijuana possession they're actually doing. And so this is a matter of old business. And I don't want this to be abandoned simply because we got a methodologically invalid but quick and dirty effort to sort of, answer the question, picking, I mean, I'm just not satisfied with an inadequate answer. And I don't think that our commission should be satisfied with an inadequate answer. So I guess the question then is, should we renew our request for an accurate count? And it certainly seems that so that's all.
So just to provide a little context, as I recall, the reason this was raised is because there were considerations that because of the change in state law, that potentially people who were being arrested, you wanted to draw some sort of or gain some sort of understanding between how many arrests do we have and how many of those arrests are actually resulting in prosecutions, because there's been a change in state law. Was that sort of where it started?
So, well, at the time that the state law changed in 2014, the state's attorney, John McCarthy, said he was not going to make any marijuana possession prosecutions, period. That's what he told the Washington Post. For the Montgomery County Police then to arrest people for an offense for which the state attorney has already declared he will not make any prosecutions struck me as outrageous. And it's an abuse of their authority to arrest people for offenses where the state's attorney says, I'm not going to prosecute people for this. That seems to me tantamount to harassment. And so I'm sorry. So just to finish, the county reported thousands of these arrests. And so we simply wanted to know how many of these are actually arrests, because they said, no, they're not really arrests. We're just giving out citations, but they actually don't know how many citations or arrests they're giving out, but they are arresting some people.
So I was accurate in that the context was because we were comparing you wanted to get to the bottom of the statement that we're not arresting people for marijuana or we're not prosecuting people for marijuana, and figure out whether or not we were in fact arresting people for marijuana. That was sort of where it started, right? I mean, I wanted to provide context for the people who weren't here at that time so that they understand what the rub is, okay? Robin, I think you had your hand up first.
I'm really, I'm just supporting Eric's point that at a minimum, we raised this question quite a long time ago, and it would be helpful to know if the department has now figured out a way to track the difference between a citation and an arrest on an ongoing basis. Eric's point is absolutely well made, and the police department should be able to tell us. So I'm going to shut up now and see if anyone can answer it.
Wait a minute, I want Ty to speak because he hasn't spoken. His hand is up.
Yeah.
The only question I had, I do support both what Robin and Eric said. However, I'm curious as to whether or not these issues regarding marijuana, do they come about as a result of some other police business, or they're specifically the result of someone utilizing marijuana? I think that would be interesting to know.
Mm-hmm.
You mean other police business in the sense of traffic stops?
Some other reason that police initiate an action with the citizen other than for marijuana
Marijuana.
is yes.
Okay, so, Susan's hand was up.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that Acting Assistant Chief Amy Dahm is here and she can speak to that. She's taken over for Dinesh Patil, who retired July 1st.
Oh, I didn't know Dinesh
Yeah.
retired.
Yep.
Captain Dom, happy to have you aboard. Please feel free to provide any clarity you can on this point.
So I'm going to tell y'all, first of all, I'm Amy Dahm. My home is Special Victims Investigations Division. So I can tell you we don't handle a whole lot of food there. So I don't know off the top of my head how many marijuana arrests or types of arrests that we make that are small scale arrests and not related to some other type of investigation. That being said, I am happy to speak with Assistant Chief Patil, who, yes, he retired on July 1st, unfortunately, and took a job in the private sector. So I am his interim replacement until we kind of get everything stabilized in the meantime. I'm more than happy to look into it, but I don't have an answer for you about it this evening.
Okay, so the questions that Eric sent before, Eric, can you just resend those questions to Captain Dom, and maybe, we can find out what her answer is. But I think you make a very valid point that this is an essential question of record keeping and how statistics are gathered, because we've hit this many times before. Robin?
I think we should try and move the ball forward rather than going back. And I'd like to suggest that Eric append a set of comments. I'm volunteering Eric again. Append his comments to what we got from MCPD last time, explaining why they are inadequate and asking for a better response next time. That way we're moving forward, I think.
Eric,
Sorry, Eric.
Is that homework assignment okay with you?
Since Robin's noting that I wrote a response.
Yeah.
So I will, Captain Dom, what would be the best way for me to forward this material to you?
You can just send it to me so that I have a record of PAC requests for information to the police department, and I'll send it to Captain Dahm.
Would you want to have Susan send me your email address? Would that be the most discreet and effective way?
I think Susan needs a record of it. So if you send Susan can then respond and CC my email, or I can also put my email in the chat, but I know, or I believe from the rules that Susan needs it. Is that correct, Susan?
Yeah, it has to come through staff just so that we have a record, because they have a 30-day requirement for turnaround.
Got it.
Okay, so then that's next. So Captain Dom, welcome aboard, and you'll be getting a homework assignment. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Sherry.
My pleasure. Speaking of which, I would like to also note that we had requested that someone from the state's attorney meet with us today to talk about the no prosecution decision that was actually made by the Howard County state's attorney. As you all may recall, there was a police involved shooting that resulted in a death. Under the new state law, HB 670, that shooting was investigated by the Attorney General. The Attorney General made issued a report. That report went to the Montgomery County State's Attorney because the shooting was in downtown Silver Spring, I believe, in January. The Montgomery County State's Attorney then gave the report, I guess, to the Howard County State's Attorney, and the Howard County State's Attorney made the decision to not prosecute the officer involved. So, we asked the Montgomery County State's Attorney to explain why this MOU that transfers things from Howard to Montgomery and Montgomery to Howard was still in effect, given the independent investigations required by state law under HB 670. That was the question that we asked the state's attorney to answer. And unfortunately, no one from the state's attorney's office could be here tonight. So I wanted you all to know that that we had asked that question. And so right now, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. So, and I don't know if that's, I mean, personally, that's something that I think we should follow up on, because I'm really confused about how a prosecutorial decision can be sent to another county. I mean, I could understand the MOU because the MOU allowed for independent investigation. That duty has now been overtaken by the state attorney general. When I can tell you that Mr. McCarthy has said that he believes allowing the Howard County State's Attorney to make the prosecution decision is also making doubly sure that everything is fair and impartial. That was what was said at an NAACP meeting. Okay. But we had asked Mr. McCarthy to come here and to explain it to this body. And that didn't happen. So I just want to let you all know that. Robin, you have your hand up?
As usual, yeah. Really just this, it's not really exactly on this point, but it's to do with the state's attorney general, so I thought I would raise it. I looked into, I was trying to look for data on police effectiveness. And I noticed that Montgomery County has a much higher percentage of cases nollie prost in the courts than other counties, with the exception of Baltimore. Baltimore is still lower than Montgomery County, but it's a lot of cases. Now, I don't know the reasons for that, and I would like to find information from the state's attorney general who made those decisions, why the pattern is different for Montgomery County than other counties. It seems to me that, you know, we have a bunch of different metrics about police effectiveness. They're to do with crime rates, arrests, closure, and also prosecution and outcomes through the court system. And I do know that the arrest data and the court system are not aligned. There's no automatic connection between the two, which means that we have very bad outcome data in that area. But I would at least like to know whether the state's attorney general sees any issues in the kinds of cases that are coming from Montgomery County. And I think that's something we could ask for when they do come and talk to us.
Are you saying state's attorney general or the state's attorney or the attorney general?
I'm talking actually about the county officers in charge of the courts, and I don't really know which one it is.
It's the state's attorney. The state's attorney is the local official, and the attorney general is the statewide official.
Well, actually, I mean, yeah. So I guess it's the local guy that we really want to talk to just to find out if there are patterns of arrests and prosecutions from Montgomery County that are different than other counties, and why that is and what that means. I don't have any particular conclusion to offer. I just noticed the difference and thought, well, we should investigate.
So, so I will say that we did invite the state's attorney to speak. They were not able to speak today. However, we have a meeting in August. So I would suggest that we invite them in August. And that would be, what day is our meeting in August, Susan?
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
It tells me hitting the space bar is supposed to unmute me, and I did. I'm looking it up, but my Outlook is glitchy. Hold on just a second. It would be the
Okay.
15th. It's the 15th.
My old wall calendar says it's the 8th, but my old wall calendar might not be right.
Okay.
No, we meet the second Monday, right?
No.
Second Monday in
No,
August?
you're right. You're right.
It's the 8th? Okay. So we are going to seek the participation of the state's attorney for August the 8th.
I'm also working with somebody in the Attorney General's office as well. So I can't guarantee, there's no requirement for them to show up, but I'm trying.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, I think it's really the state's attorney who we have
Okay.
the most questions for,
Okay.
because they're the county level official. Eric?
Thank you, Sherry. Did we put together in advance a list of questions for the state's attorney? I don't think I contributed to such a list if we did.
No, we can certainly do one though.
But I think it might be helpful for both for us to focus our thinking and for the state's attorney who's going to come, if we have some, specific questions or general topics that we're specific, that we really want to have addressed. And we should.
I agree. I don't think we had a specific list of questions. I think we were trying to figure out whether we could even get them, frankly. And so that didn't pan out. So, please send, everyone is invited, please send questions for the state's attorney for the August meeting. And quite frankly, if he can't show up in August, then we can just mail him the questions. This doesn't have to, showing up in person is nice, but
Terry, like with like a stamp, like and put it in the mail.
no, transmit them. I may be old school, but I'm not ancient, Carolyn. I
Just
can
laughing.
deliver them by courier if you like.
I'll drive up with you. We'll drive together.
Well,
I was thinking, or do we have to subpoena
them?
them?
60 cents. As
Yes,
of
it
today,
will.
it'll cost you 60 cents to mail it.
Oh, I need certified if we're doing that. That's another $3. Sorry.
Okay, so as I said, I have a hard stop at 8 o'clock because I got to go to my alumni meeting. So Robin, Eric, you all want to let us, what's up, Robin?
Oh, I'm done.
Okay, Eric?
Sherry, what's our deadline for getting these proposed questions to the Attorney General, to Susan?
Let's try 2 weeks from today.
Very good. Thank you.
And that will give them plenty of notice.
I have one question of Carolyn. Carolyn.
Yes, Vern?
Yes,
Are these books or what is that?
they're all fake. See? Ooh.
They're what?
It's not real. It's
Oh,
not.
wallpaper. Okay.
It's aspirational. It's aspirational. It looks real though, doesn't it? It looks really
Yeah, I said, you read all of that, girl. You doing a marvelous.
Thanks, guys.
Sherry,
So yes,
I move to
Yes, Frank?
adjourn.
Yes, that's what I'm fixing to do. So, I want to thank you all for attending tonight. I know it's hard in the summertime, because, we'd all be rather sitting outside, and watching the fireflies. But I want to thank you. Appreciate your work. Feel free to email or call between meetings. At least call me, email or call me between meetings to chat. So with that, I bid you adieu to the next time. This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, Sherry.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
yes.
Thank you.